What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Hey, we just finished up the Big 12 Conference earlier today, and by the way, happy 4th of July to everyone. This video is going to be uploaded on the 4th of July, so everyone in the United States, hope you guys are having a good day, but please stay safe out there on the 4th of July as well. But getting in now here too to the Big 12 recap and standings prediction for the 2022 season. This is a Big 12 conference that was this close to possibly putting a team in the college football playoff last year, and now I think this year the conference still going to be a little bit wide open. But you're going to get my recap, standings prediction, as well as projected conference title game in this video as well. So, guys, before we get into that, though, I still got 93 teams to go through and predict for this college football season. If you guys want to see your favorite teams still get uploaded, if I haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. Again, do all that fun stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, anything you can to help support the channel. And let's go ahead and get into Big 12 recap standings predictions. Standings are going to appear on screen in 3, 2, 1. Boom, there you go. I'll let you guys take a good look at the standings here, what I kind of think the Big 12 is going to play out like in 2022. All right, let's go ahead and talk about it. We're going to start going from the bottom up as you take a look at my projected conference championship game as well, which, again, I will talk about here shortly. But let's talk about the standings. Kansas, of course, at the bottom of the Big 12, and I don't think that's a surprise to much anyone. However, and what I've talked about before with this Kansas team is that this Kansas team is much improved and is so much better than a year ago, and better than a lot of other teams that Kansas has had in the past. They brought in a lot of very talented transfers. They have a lot of very good talent coming in on this team, and this is absolutely a team that can play spoiler in the Big 12 Conference, so I would watch out for Kansas in 2022. This is definitely going to be a talented football team, and again, that has the potential to play spoiler. When you look at Texas Tech here, I do have them just missing out on a bowl game at 5-7 and having a 3-6 record in conference. Now, Texas Tech is another interesting matchup another interesting team because breaking in a new head coach in Joey McGuire, breaking in a new offensive coordinator in Zach Kittley. Yeah, he had one of the best offenses in the nation last year, but coming into a power conference at a team that we'll say it isn't necessarily the most talented team by any stretch of a mile in the Big 12. However, there are a lot of players on that team that I do like. They're also losing some talent on that team as well that could hurt that offensive production. And I think, again, breaking in a new head coach is hard. Breaking in the new offensive coordinator and a new offensive system is hard. Doing both at the same time, that's going to be really hard. So Texas Tech, they have a couple good recruiting classes down the line. In fact, I think next year, or maybe even the year after, one of the two is an elite recruiting class. It's really good. So watch for this team to be a player in the Big 12 in the coming years, but this year, give it some time for them to break in their new coach. Same thing with TCU here, who has the same conference record, but yet I do have making a bowl game at 6-6. Look, this is the TCU team, Sonny Dykes, coming in for this team, the old SMU head coach, and did really well at SMU, got SMU into the polls for the first time since the dreaded curse. But coming over now to the rival of SMU in TCU, it's definitely going to be a very interesting football team. This team's got a lot of experience coming back. However, they may well be losing their best offensive player in Zach Evans, so needing a chance to break in some backs there as well, but definitely have quarterback play, definitely have wide receiver play. The defense has left a lot to be desired in years past, though, too. So, again, I think give Sonny Dykes some time, and TCU could be back towards the top of the Big 12. But this year, I think I'm going to have them at 8th. 7th, West Virginia. In non-conference, the Backyard Brawl is back, the game against Pitt. However, in conference, I think this is going to be a fairly dangerous team. And, again, a team that is worth playing spoiler. However, yet again, I do think that this is a West Virginia team that, while adding JT Daniels, adding some other offensive, defensive talent there as well, I still think this is a West Virginia team that might struggle at times this season. However, overall, I don't think West Virginia fans are going to be disappointed with the stat lines at the end of the year at all. I do think this is going to be a solid football team, and I do have them making a bowl game in the Big 12 Conference. Same thing with Iowa State. Now, Iowa State, while they do have a lot of nice young pieces, Deckers, Brock, Xavier Hutchinson comes back. This and lots of defensive talent as well. This is an Iowa State team that had had probably its most talented roster in program history a season ago. And I know Cyclone fans are going to feel like maybe it was wasted. Maybe it wasn't used to its full potential. However, what I will say, this Iowa State team still got a lot of nice young pieces, including some experienced options there as well. But this probably is going to be a rebuilding year for the Iowa State Cyclones. I do have them making a bowl game. It wouldn't shock me to see them higher in the standings, but it also wouldn't shock me to see them lower in the standings and possibly missing out on a bowl game either. And that same thing goes with West Virginia. Wouldn't shock me to see West Virginia fourth in the Big 12, but also wouldn't shock me to see West Virginia miss out on bowl season in 2022. So there's the bottom half of the Big 12. Moving into the top half, though, I got Kansas State here at 7-5, 4-5 in conference. And again, this is the Kansas State fan base that I think expects a little bit more than 7-5. I think they expect kind of like an 8-4 type season. But in order for that to happen, Adrian Martinez has got to flip his own narrative really fast. He has got to flip the narrative that he's got to go out there and prove that he's a guy that you won out there in the fourth quarter. Because during his times at Nebraska, and this was not one occasion, this was many occasions, to where Adrian Martinez would somehow, and again, no discredit to Adrian Martinez, find a way to lose games. And I think going to Kansas State, Martinez says, I want to make a bowl game. Well, he's got one of the best running backs back there, solid wide receiver group as well. But it's an Adrian Martinez that needs to flip his script and needs to start to play some better football. If this Kansas State team wants to be a true contender in the Big 12 Conference, this team has the talent to do so. But I think a lot of it is going to fall on Adrian Martinez to see what he can do. Now, moving into the top four here, I do believe that these are the four teams that can contend for a Big 12 Conference title. And these four teams right here, go ahead and throw any combination you want into the Big 12 title, because it's not going to surprise me if we see any combination of those four. But starting with Texas, again, a team that I feel like has just added too much to not improve, right? Some of the biggest getters in the transfer portal, a couple pass catchers from Alabama, bringing Quinn Ewers back in after he originally committed, then decommitted to go to Ohio State for some NIL deals. Now he's back at Texas. You also got Hudson Card back there, lots of defensive talent as well. This is the Texas team that is definitely going to be talented. However, again, there may end up being some growing pains with Quinn Ewers, and this wide receiver core may not mesh well. Oh, also, they have one of the best running backs in the country. How could I forget about Bijan Robinson? But this is definitely a Texas team that may have some growing pains towards the beginning of the year, and they have a tough non-conference game against Alabama on the schedule. But I do see them going 6-3 in conference. They may even be able to go 7-2. Again, I think their direct competition is with Baylor. And that game at the end of the year, I think, could end up being the deciding factor on who goes to a conference championship game or not. And then Oklahoma State. They don't really have a difficult non-conference game. However, when you look at this Oklahoma State team, I definitely think that this is an Oklahoma State team that can contend for a Big 12 title. And again, they were that close last year to making it into the college football playoff. What I will say about this Oklahoma State team is, yeah, losing Jim Knowles is going to hurt. And I think it's going to take quite something in order for them to have as special a season as they did last year. And I think some of that is also going to end up falling on Spencer Sanders, right? How well does he improve? How much does he get better? Things like that. Because Spencer Sanders has kind of just been your run-of-the-mill quarterback for quite some time. And Spencer Sanders, I think, can take that next step. I think we've seen flashes of that. But a lot's going to fall on that. And how good is this defense when it's not coached by Jim Knowles? A couple question marks to answer for the Pokes there. The Baylor Bears and Oklahoma Sooners, however, are my top two teams in the Big 12, and the two teams I have playing for a conference championship game. When I look at this Baylor team, I think people are still going to undervalue some of the talent that this Baylor team has. And again, I haven't necessarily seen enough from Blake Shapen to say that he's a solid quarterback, but what I have seen from Blake Shapen has been really, really good. So Blake Shapen, definitely going to be his team moving into 2022, but this is the Baylor team that loses a lot on both sides of the ball. However, Dave Aranda, I feel, is one of the better coaches in the entire nation. And definitely this Baylor team, much like I'm projecting, can compete for a Big 12 title. But the number one team in the Big 12 I have are the Oklahoma Sooners. And it's an Oklahoma team that, this is their last shot to push for a Big 12 title. Much like Texas. Again, it's a Texas-Oklahoma team. This is their last shot. And I think what a storyline script it would be for college football is if we saw Oklahoma and Texas in the Big 12 championship game, because those two schools, again, moving on to the SEC next year, not going to be part of the Big 12 conference, not going to be a part of these Big 12 standings projections next year. They will be out, and 4 new teams will be thrown into the mix in the Big 12. But again, back to Oklahoma. This is, again, I think still a very, very talented football team, but they're breaking in a new head coach, a new quarterback. However, Dillon Gabriel, an absolute gunslinger. And I think he's going to be fine, and he's going to prove to be an elite weapon as he has proven his entire career at UCF. But also, moving into the conference championship game, moving into this Oklahoma season for next year. Again, my Oklahoma video came out earlier today. Again, with a defensive-minded coach in Brent Venables, bringing him over from Clemson. That defense should again could have the option to be, or could have the potential to be a top 25, if not top 10 defense in the nation. Their offense can absolutely do the same thing there. Lots of talent there. And I think this Oklahoma team probably is going to be the favorite in the Big 12 coming in. I don't know what the exact odds are in Vegas right now, but I would think any combination, again, of Oklahoma, Baylor, Oklahoma State, and Texas, I think that's your Big 12 championship game. The variation that I'm going with is Oklahoma and Baylor. I do feel like Oklahoma is the best team in the Big 12, and I feel like people, again, are still going to underrate Baylor's talent. So a conference championship game rematch from a couple seasons ago, I believe 2019, when this Baylor team was also really good and also one of the surprise teams in the nation. But this Baylor team got a lot of expectations, got a tough non-conference game against BYU. But again, at the end of the day, I still do see them going into the Big 12 championship. However, it was between Baylor and Texas for me. I had Oklahoma here. It was between Baylor and Texas for me because I feel like whoever wins that game at the end of the year between Baylor and Texas, I think that's the team you're going to see in December playing for a Big 12 title. However, the thing I'll mention again is what a storybook it would be. What just absolute poetry it would be if Oklahoma and Texas got to play in their final Big 12 championship game. So college football fans, I think if we see that, relish it, enjoy it, because it could be the last time that Oklahoma and Texas play in a conference championship game, at least for the Big 12 conference. We have no idea what the SEC is going to look like in terms of that regards. But that my Big 12 standing projections, conference championship game prediction, and all of the like. You can go ahead and take one final look at the standings and my predicted championship game, because that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed me talking about the Big 12. The next conference we're going to be moving on to is the ACC. That starts tomorrow. We got 14 teams in the ACC to do over the course of the next 6 days. So, guys, that's going to do it. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, anything you can to help support my channel. It does mean a lot. And remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. The ACC starts tomorrow. Goodbye.